her. They worship Satan. And whether you believe in Satan or not doesn't matter. Our masters believe it. And so the lies. The lies are at every level. Everything that you and I know is a lie. The United States was never a democracy. After the Civil War, the slaves were never freed. Their ownership was transferred from the plantations to the federal government. And ever since then, every person born in the United States has been the property of the U.S. federal government. And today, every branch of the U.S. government is a privately owned offshore corporation. Now, the easiest way to understand this, if it's in all possible to understand, go to the website of Dun & Bradstreet, the big stock exchange place, and look up the Internal Revenue Service, look up your local sheriff's department, look up your local police department, look up your local courthouse. You will find that they are all privately owned offshore corporations. And who owns the shares in your local courthouse? The judge who sits and rules on your case, the prosecuting attorney who's trying to put you in jail, and your attorney who theoretically is trying to keep you out of jail. Now, they in turn, the judge and the two attorneys, own shares, own stock in the local privately owned offshore prison. The local prison where they're going to send you is actually a privately owned offshore corporation, which means that the judge, the city attorney, your attorney, actually have a vested monetary interest in making certain that you go to prison. Because the moment they put you into their prison, they get money. Beginning to get the general idea? Look up, for example, the city of Washington, D.C., the province, whatever we call it nowadays. It's also a privately owned offshore corporation. In Los Angeles, if you've ever been there, we need more freeways, but we'll never get them. The city and the county and the state of California have sold bonds to raise money to build freeways for decades. Those freeways were never built, but you gave them money, you got bonds in exchange. Where did your money go? Well, you didn't get it back, for one thing. What happens is that money is invested in real estate projects, shopping centers, housing developments, insurance and reinsurance company. So that initial investment that was supposed to go into a freeway went into a real estate investment and generated interest, made money, made lots of money. Are you going to get any of that money? No. Are you ever going to get any of your money back? No. Are you going to share in the money that you gave the government and that they invested for themselves? No. It's a lie. Look up something called CAFR, Cumulative Annual Financial Reports. And then go look at the website of Mr. Walter Burien, B-U-R-I-E-N. Now his website is CAFR, C-A-F-R-1, the number 1.com. And you will discover that the United States today is so rich, so wealthy, so swimming in cash, that if that money, your money, was divided equally amongst all 300 million of us, we'd all get checks of about $100,000 each, and all of the nation's debts would be paid off in a single day. But you lost your home because you lost your job. You're living in your car until the bank that got bailed out by the government seizes it, confiscates it. Do you know in Nevada that if you are late on your payments, the police will actually come to your house, arrest you in front of your children, and take you to debtor's prison? Yeah, look that up in the news. That actually made mainstream news. And yet the bank that loaned you that money to buy your car that you owe money to, all of the bank's bad debts got paid off by us. Do they have to repay the bailout? No, because all that money's already been stolen from you. And the Internal Revenue Service, the IRS, it's a privately owned offshore corporation based in Puerto Rico. They steal from the average U.S. citizen about $500 million every hour. And you know where that money goes? They give it to the Federal Reserve Bank, another privately owned offshore corporation. And then that money is shipped off to Europe, and we never see it again. So how does the USA pay its bills? How do the states pay their bills? With excise taxes. An excise tax is the tax they put on your gasoline when you drive on their roads. It's the tax they put on your gasoline to buy gasoline. They tax your cigarettes. They tax your alcohol. And that's how they sort of almost pay for everything. Of course, they're in debt all the time. That's why. And they also have lines of credit. These are things that you would go to jail for, but that the government does every single day. And those unpaid debts will never be paid, of course, because they're not going to spend the money they're hoarding. So they dump it on us again. So the USA is overflowing with wealth, but you'll never see it. So please, forget about saving the country. It was never ours. We belong, you and I, belong to the federal government. You and I, we're slaves. You and I are property. And thanks to Theodore Roosevelt about 100 years ago, you and I and our children, our bodies, our work is pledged as the equity, the security for the debts of the United States to foreign investors. Our bodies are the equity. Our signatures are worth more on the stock market than your home and your car combined. You are bought and sold as a stock as part of a hedge fund. A hedge fund is a collection of signatures, your signatures, and those are bought and sold and traded every single day. You really are just cattle. And do you think for an instant that the farmer raising the cattle gives a darn what the cattle think? You are livestock. You are not people. Our masters are a completely different form of life than you and I. They have blood that is based on copper. And copper-based blood is blue. The people. The chosen people. You and I, our blood is based on iron. And that makes us not human. Not people. We're cattle. I'm sorry, none of this is hard. None of this is difficult. You just have to use the rule that I finally remembered, the one that freed me from another vicious, evil, selfish, cruel American woman. That's an oxymoron. A woman who once told me that the reason she was studying to be a psychologist, is because she wanted to learn how to hurt people more effectively. And she wasn't kidding. So I came up with this phrase, which I'd sort of made up on the spot, and I said it to her, and she ran away, and I never saw her again. She was out of my life forever, and I was really wondering how I was going to get free of her. I just said these very simple words. I said, I listen to what you say, then I watch what you do. That's all you got to do. Repeat that very simple phrase to yourself every single day, and then practice it daily. And when in doubt, say those very words in exactly that way to someone you are doing business with. 98 times out of 100, they will run away. It's really something to watch. And then start planning for yourself. You are your own best defense. And if you can figure out a way to market the village as a for-profit, sustainable, above organic farm, I will send you a business plan. Sell it, get us money, and together we can make a difference for each other. If you want to make a difference, start with yourself. For all of us here at the 2012fad.com, this is Charlie Bluehawk, wishing you a really good day, and please just keep at least one good thought. The 2012 Fad is brought to you by Coffee and Blood, Love Letters Between the Dead, a series of 5 erotica horror novels about a fallen angel fighting his way back to regain his own soul, and how the CIA war against the human race Their black magic captures and traps him in the body of a mind-controlled slave, designed to hunt down and to kill their god, their Satan.